name's Anthony Burton. Everyone in netball circles called me Birdie. I've had my nickname since I was a little kid. Sort of carried on into adulthood. Yeah, I played netball for Victoria at the inception of netball in Victoria back in 1985. Between 1985 and 1996, I played in 10 Victorian Open sides, won 5 national titles, and was coached by some of the best brains going around back in the day. I've always been involved in sports from a young age, primarily basketball, before netball came along. So I think my grounding in basketball helped me sort of adapt probably quicker to netball than maybe your average person. One of the guys I played basketball with back in the day, he mentioned to me one time that there was a netball game happening out at Belmont High School down in Geelong. Of course, me being in basketball, I thought, well, yeah, if you need a hand, I'll come down and have a try. And with netball, Norma Plummer was coached us in 88 and 89 and won back-to-back nationals with her. And then in the early 90s, Betty Carroll, former Australian defender, she coached us, and we did a three-peat, 92, 93, 94. Pretty much, of course, Lionel Foster, he was the driving force behind a lot of what happened with the netball in Victoria. Helen Ryan, who worked with Lionel, Terry Corrie and Shane Burke. I think they first got the idea off the ground about a state team happening. And then next moment, selection trials have been announced for a Nationals title to be held in Geelong in 1985. We really did look forward to every year that we went away, played Nationals at Easter, and then we had the club championships that were being run back then down in Geelong I think that was September, October every year. So all the clubs from all over Australia came down, and it was really, really good. We just looked forward to, just getting together, every Easter and September, October, and playing in the club nationals. So when we first started playing, there was a little bit of kickback from some women in the sport. Of course, men playing netball, unheard of back in the day. That was very hard to try and overcome those obstacles. But large and by, mostly a lot of the women were quite good. They were supportive of the men playing netball. We couldn't never beat South Australia. 85, 86, 87. We lost the grand final in 87 to South Australia by 5 goals. In the preliminary final against New South Wales, I broke my hand, so I couldn't play the grand final, and we lost by 5. And it was just, we're getting closer. In 86, we played South Australia at Apollo Stadium in the grand final. We got wiped. To prove the point, 8 out of the 10 Australian players that year were all South Australian. That's how good they were. But I remember in Good Friday of 1988 was the first time we ever beat South Australia. Nationals were held in Tassie that year, and just after 3 or 4 years of hard slog, we were finally able to take that next leap and beat South Australia. I remember in 92 the Nationals were held in Tasmania, and Tasmania had a goal shooter, Graham Debman, who was 6'10", and he was a huge guy to try and beat. He had a basketball background as well. So Chris Carroll went down and played goalkeeper when we played Tassie, and we ended up winning the final there against Tassie, and that was huge. Of course, first Australian touring side. We played the first test in Sydney. Second test was played in Adelaide, and the third test was played down in Geelong. And of course, playing with all the, there was 8 South Australians in the Australian side, and then Cookie and Alan Little and Mick Seeley, some of those players from back then, and I thought, wow, this is one hell of a side, and there was a little bit of nerves going into that first test in Sydney. But, we got the job done, and just, we were just, I think, it was tough, but just, flying around the country with the boys, and just, you're playing for your country. It's just, you have the patch on your chest, and you just lift another step. Just go that the next level when you know that, the 10 guys here are the best in the country. Yeah? And we had a training camp in Adelaide and played against the South Australian women's team back in the day, and they were tough as well. They were, wow. Michelle Dendecker was playing on me, and she was, wow, she didn't give me anything. It was tough, but it was a good warm-up and good lead into the test series against New Zealand. I think the 5 nationals that I won, there was only 2 other guys, Chris Carroll and Terry Corrie, that played with me in all those 5. So I have a special connection to those guys. And even today, 40 years later, we still keep in touch, and so that's really good. We had a function, of course, last Saturday. It's the first time that we've all been sort of back together as a group, and the Victorian men's team came up here afterwards, after they played their game against South Australia. And 40 years ago, if I thought that this would be happening today, and with the live streaming and the growth and the social media, platform that they have now, it's just amazing. You would not have thought that men's netball could grow to the extent that it has. Of course, it's not just men's, but they've got mixed now, which they didn't have back in the day. And I think that's also helped the growth of the sport. And I think just, the exposure, I think it's just going to get bigger and bigger. It's really good to see. And all these courts are packed out here at Parkville. So many more players that are playing the sport now. And I think that the growth of the sport and the continual rise is going to happen over time. This is the trophy from the club championships that we used to. They used to be held every year around September, October, from 1985 to 1994. The very last year of the competition, they were held in South Australia, and so we, of course, travelled to South Australia and won the grand final. I played for the Melbourne club back in the day and won the grand final in South Australia, and that was the last time that the club championships were held. And so, of course, I brought the trophy back with me, and it's been with me ever since. So I've tried to keep it in as good a nick as possible. If anyone wonders, Birdie's got the trophy. Just want to let everyone know that. So this is the original touring Australian Guernsey. Was the tracksuit top, of course. And this is what we wore when we played New Zealand back in 1986 in the 3-test series. So yeah,